There are many countries on our planet with controversial realities, but probably none like this one. A remote African country full of beautiful women, where a local custom means that some of them offer themselves to tourists as a sign of strength. In this new video from Uncensored World, we will learn more about Madagascar, one of the wildest and least known countries, but also one of the most beautiful and fascinating on the planet. Madagascar, a unique archipelago with labyrinthine cities built on clouds, giant trees that look like they came from an alien planet, dancing lemurs, stone forests, or extreme realities such as those that occur in some isolated villages in the south, where hospitality reaches the point that certain women may offer themselves to visitors for one night. A place full of unique curiosities, such as rituals in which spirits possess women, or the well-known dance of the dead, famadihana, a way of honoring the deceased that causes families to exhume them from time to time and prepare them to celebrate and dance with them as if they were alive. Ancestors of what was once the pirates' favorite island, to the point of creating a utopian community known as Libertalia, where booty was distributed, or the story of a bloody queen who banned Christianity and eliminated anyone who stood in her way. A nation in constant evolution, to the point that recently a movement known as Generation Zeta is trying to improve a present that is often as complicated as it is fascinating. Pay attention and don't miss this video, because we assure you that everything in it will surprise you. Let's get started. Although many people don't know it, Madagascar is an island in the Indian Ocean that belongs to Africa. It is also the fourth largest island in the world, although it is very sparsely populated due to its unique and isolated nature. These facts and other curiosities that you are about to discover make Madagascar a fascinating destination full of mysteries that captivate anyone who has the privilege of discovering it. Located in Eastern Africa, Madagascar is known for its exceptional biodiversity, unique flora and fauna, and rich culture. Its remote location and vast size make this country a unique and attractive place for adventurers and nature lovers. This reality is revealed in any photo or postcard, or as soon as you open your eyes once inside this beautiful archipelago. The giant baobab is probably the plant that best defines Madagascar and its most iconic image. These trees seem to defy logic, with their enormous trunks that store water and branches that seem to stretch toward the sky like inverted roots, evoking the feeling of being in a landscape from another planet. The Avenue of the Baobabs, one of the most visited spots in the country near the city of Morondava, is home to one of the most impressive and photographed scenes in Madagascar. The baobabs here can reach up to 30 meters in height and a trunk diameter of more than 10 meters. And along the road they create a forest that seems to be made up of giants. Every evening, the warm light of the sun transforms these trees into fantastic shadows, leaving visitors with the feeling of walking among living beings from another world. Many call these trees upside-down trees because their silhouette resembles giant roots rising toward the sky, while their interior functions as a natural water reservoir, essential for survival in dry climates, especially in southern Madagascar. This capacity makes them true reserves of life, as in addition to serving as sources of water, some of their hollow trunks have been used as natural shelters for villagers, travelers, and even animals such as bats and endemic birds. There are records of families who have lived inside the largest baobabs, while lemurs and chameleons often use them as hiding places, feeding on their flowers and leaves. This mixture of natural and cultural function makes the baobab a true living colossus, protecting life and telling stories of survival and mystery in the midst of this amazing landscape. These unique realities have a lot to do with its climate and location on the planet. The climate in Madagascar varies considerably, depending on the region and time of year. In general, the island experiences dry and wet seasons, with temperatures that can exceed 40 degrees Celsius in some areas during the summer. The name Madagascar comes from the first European explorers who arrived on the island. In the 15th century, Portuguese sailors named it Ilha de São Lourenço, or St. Lawrence Island, in honor of their patron saint. However, over time, maps and travelers' accounts began to refer to it as Madagascar, a name that became established in Europe, and today identifies one of the most fascinating archipelagos on the planet. But the origins of Madagascar's inhabitants are even more surprising than the name of the island. Contrary to what many might imagine, the first inhabitants did not come directly from mainland Africa, but in canoes from Indonesia and Malaysia more than 1,500 years ago. These navigators traveled thousands of kilometers across the Indian Ocean in one of the most extreme maritime migrations in history. You may have wondered, why did these people travel so far? The answer lies in the nature of their lives. They were expert Austronesian navigators, accustomed to crossing vast oceans in search of new lands to grow rice, roots, and spices, as well as to expand their communities and trade. These navigators had advanced knowledge of winds, currents, and stars, which allowed them to cross thousands of kilometers of the Indian Ocean in light but sturdy boats, braving storms and unknown territories. Their goal was not to reach Madagascar specifically, but to explore and colonize distant islands that offered fertile soil and abundant resources, in a process of expansion that is now considered one of the most extraordinary maritime migrations in human history. Upon arriving in Madagascar, they found a remote territory isolated from other large continents, which allowed them to settle, develop their own cultures, and later mix with other African migrations and cultures. This relative isolation turned the island into a natural laboratory of biodiversity and cultural diversity, where both fauna and humans evolved in unique ways. This remote journey explains why the Malagasy language belongs to the Austronesian language family, a language closer to Indonesian than to any African language. The first islanders brought with them crops, traditions, and navigation techniques that continue to leave their mark on Malagasy culture today. Over time, Madagascar received new waves of African migration, allowing the islanders to mix and create a unique society with impressive genetic diversity. The subsequent arrival of Portuguese and European pirates and traders added even more layers to this cultural and genetic mix, resulting in populations with traits unique in the world. This combination of origins explains why some Malagasy women display particularly beautiful features: dark skin, large but slanted eyes, and shiny dark hair, creating a beauty that seems to be the result of a cross between cultures as distant as Asia and Africa. In some regions, there are even features reminiscent of mulattoes with oriental touches, reflecting centuries of encounters and genetic mixing. The Malagasy language, like the island itself, is unique and fascinating, with mainly African and Indonesian influences, as you have seen. It is the main language of Madagascar and is spoken by the vast majority of the population. Although there are numerous dialects on the island, Standard Malagasy is used in education, the media, and government administration. Thinking about the government and current society, in recent years there have been youth movements, especially among the so-called Generation Z, young people who have begun to become more actively involved in student protests and peaceful demonstrations, seeking improvements in education, social justice, and environmental protection, reflecting a country that has always had a history of overcoming adversity and resilience. The name Generation Z is used internationally to identify young people born mainly between the mid-1990s and early 2010s, who grew up entirely in the digital age, surrounded by the internet, social media, and immediate access to global information. In Madagascar, Generation Z is taking an increasingly active role in trying to improve the country's situation and build a more just and equitable future. These young people are seeking change in areas such as education, women's rights, environmental protection, and government transparency, reacting to historical inequalities and controversial social realities. These include practices such as those observed in some remote villages in the south, which you will learn about later, known as a form of extreme hospitality, where some women are offered to visitors to spend the night. Interestingly, these protests are not just acts of discontent. they also become spaces for creativity and cultural expression, where students integrate music, art, and visual messages inspired by Madagascar's rich biodiversity and history. It is a reflection of a people who have learned to adapt and survive, from the first settlers who arrived from Indonesia more than 1,500 years ago, crossing thousands of miles of ocean, to the species that depend on the enormous baobabs and other giant trees, which not only feed and shelter endemic animals, but also symbolize resilience and life in an often challenging environment. This combination of history, nature, and youth activism shows a country in constant evolution, where modernity does not replace tradition, but merges with it. Many of Madagascar's peculiarities are due to its remote location, isolated thousands of kilometers from the African continent, to which it belongs across the Indian Ocean. This remoteness not only allowed the development of unique cultures, but also gave rise to an extraordinary ecosystem, where nature evolved independently for centuries, a place so incredible that it has a lot to do with the famous animated film. Although it is important to understand that some people may have a misconception about the fauna of this country because of this film. To begin with, penguins do not live in Madagascar, nor do lions, zebras, or other large African mammals, but other species that only exist here do. One of the most striking animals on the island and in the film is the sifaka lemur, famous for its way of moving, as it seems to dance, hopping sideways as if dancing to the rhythm of invisible music. This curious behavior not only makes it adorable, but is also an efficient adaptation for moving between trees and plains, avoiding predators and traveling long distances in search of food. If you like this lemur or are enjoying this trip, leave us a like or a comment to help us continue discovering the world. Thank you. But lemurs are not the only unique inhabitants of Madagascar. Here, 90% of the island's fauna is endemic, meaning that it does not exist anywhere else on the planet. Among them are chameleons, not only for their ability to change color to camouflage themselves or communicate, but also for their size and diversity. Madagascar is home to some of the smallest species in the world, such as the dwarf chameleon Brookesia nana, which can fit on the tip of a finger, and also giants up to 60 centimeters, such as the panther chameleon, a chameleon that can change to electric colors, phosphorescent greens, oranges, bright blues. This incredible variety makes them one of the most spectacular groups of reptiles on the planet, adapted to every corner of the island. In addition to these animals, the fossa is a species unique to the country, an agile predator resembling a cross between a cat and a mongoose, which became famous as the villain in the popular movie Madagascar. The combination of its geographical isolation, endemic biodiversity, and extraordinary landscapes makes Madagascar a true natural laboratory of wonders, where life seems to invent new and surprising forms at every turn. In addition to its rich linguistic, biological, and cultural history, Madagascar also has a legendary reputation as a pirate hideout during the 17th and 18th centuries. The island, with its jagged coastline and numerous small islands, offered ideal hiding places for pirates prowling the nearby sea routes. Some famous pirates are rumored to have hidden treasures on the island, which has spawned numerous legends and myths about the search for lost treasure in Madagascar. The legend of Madagascar's lost treasure has intrigued treasure hunters, historians, and adventurers for centuries. The famous pirate Olivier Levasseur, known as La Bouse, is one of the main protagonists of these legends. It is said that before being captured and executed on the island of Reunion, Levasseur released a cryptogram to the public that supposedly revealed the location of his treasure in Madagascar. Although many have tried to decipher this message, La Bouse's treasure remains an unsolved mystery. Many believe that these legends may have been exaggerated or unfounded myths, but it is true that Madagascar was one of the favorite destinations for pirates, so the attraction of the possibility of discovering lost treasure remains powerful. And the island of Madagascar continues to be a fascinating destination for both modern adventurers and those who truly seek to unearth the secrets of the past. Getting to Madagascar is not as complicated as it was centuries ago. And with or without treasure, there are many ways to travel to this huge and beautiful island, a reality that we will explore in detail at the end of the video. Madagascar is so huge that it is the fourth largest island in the world, surpassed only by Greenland, New Guinea, and Borneo. This vast expanse of land gives rise to a unique archipelago, made up of at least 200 smaller islands and islets, many of which are uninhabited, and offer breathtaking landscapes to explore. The main island of Madagascar is called the Great Red Island, and is home to an incredible diversity of landscapes, from lush rainforests to arid deserts and spectacular mountains. Its capital, Antananarivo, is located in the heart of the island and is a vibrant center of culture and activity. Antananarivo is a city built on 12 hills, which means that in some parts, you can see part of it floating above the clouds on misty mornings. This feature gives it a magical and unique appearance, as if it were suspended between heaven and earth. Its streets are labyrinthine, narrow and steep, full of stairs, markets, temples, and colorful houses, making it a difficult place to navigate without getting lost, and at the same time, fascinating for those who seek to discover every hidden corner. Among its most peculiar places are the traditional markets, such as the Zoma market, where you can find absolutely everything, from fresh vegetables and exotic fruits to handicrafts, fabrics, zebu cattle, and traditional remedies. It is a place where local life is displayed in all its intensity, chaotic and full of color. But in addition to the capital, Madagascar has numerous picturesque towns and villages that offer a unique insight into Malagasy life and culture. Among the most important places to visit is Nosy Be Island, a beautiful islet in northern Madagascar known for its white sand beaches, crystal clear waters, and lush vegetation. It is a popular destination for diving and snorkeling, as well as for relaxing in luxury resorts. In the east is Sainte Marie Island, famous for being a refuge for humpback whales during the mating season. It also offers beautiful beaches and a rich history of pirates, as we mentioned at the beginning. Southern Madagascar is home to some of the most curious places and traditions on the planet, such as those we started this video with. This area is home to Isolo National Park, known for its spectacular rock formations, deep canyons, and hidden oases, a paradise for hikers and nature lovers. But the most striking thing about both southern Madagascar and other islands such as Nosy Be is the number of tourists accompanied by young women, unfortunately often even teenagers. According to all the research, this has a lot to do with the local customs of some villages on the island, according to which unmarried women and women from certain ethnic groups are expected to offer intimate relations to the men of the village and to foreign visitors. These women, unfortunately often teenagers, turn down some men, but these customs make it shameful to reject a tourist. Malagasy tradition dictates that many young women must move out of their crowded family homes in their mid-teens to their own small huts, very close to their parents' home, as a rite of passage into adulthood. The family's intention is also to prepare them for marriage, but this ancient tradition, still preserved in the 21st century by some ethnic groups, unfortunately means that unmarried girls who do not marry are at the mercy of the men who surround their huts at night, influenced by ancient local beliefs. This situation and conditioning means that suitors who could marry unmarried Malagasy girls lose interest as soon as they become pregnant. The long-term result is that Madagascar has one of the highest rates of teenage pregnancy, according to the United Nations, and one of the highest rates of teenage marriage, with 41% of girls married by the age of 18. Apart from all these problems, and the devastating impact on young women, perhaps the greatest damage is that unfortunately, every year, hordes of foreign men travel to Madagascar in search of these women, a real scourge that has continued to grow in recent years. According to anthropologist Jeffrey Kaufman, an expert on southern Madagascar, from a traditional Malagasy perspective, it makes sense for parents to move young girls to their own homes so that they can become sexual beings. This anthropologist stated that, according to the natives of Madagascar, this practice is considered to prepare them for life, marriage, and their own children. The girls' houses are located east of the main family home, as a sign of respect for the ancestors who, it is believed, influence the luck or misfortune of the living. It is surely for all these reasons that women and single girls, known in Madagascar as ampelatovo, can receive payment from the men who enter their huts. This reality is one of the reasons why Madagascar has one of the highest fertility rates in the world, with each woman conceiving an average of 4 children. At the channel, we believe that these traditions should be reviewed as times change, starting by asking young women and single women what they think, so that they are the ones who have the power to decide their destiny, and not the other way around, as seems to be the case in this remote corner of the planet. Unfortunately, one of the reasons these ancient traditions are maintained is that Madagascar is currently one of the poorest countries in the world, with a GDP per capita of only $522. Due to its regulations throughout its history, it had a poorly diversified economy focused on raw materials and agriculture. Its largest export today is vanilla, and here's another really surprising fact. More than 50% of all the vanilla on the planet comes from Madagascar. Apart from vanilla, it is also a major exporter of gold, nickel, cobalt, and iron. But despite this, it is a very poor country, largely because there was a period when the country adopted a model of government based on a Marxist-Leninist ideology. During this time, a series of regulations and trade restrictions were imposed that negatively affected business development, and as a result, contributed to the decline in the economic well-being of the population. This poverty, combined with an outdated tradition that makes Madagascar one of the countries with the highest number of teenage pregnancies, has a lot to do with the fact that this country is also one of the most densely populated places in the world. With a population of over 28 million, the country is densely populated, comparable in terms of population density to countries such as Liberia or Colombia. However, despite this high density, Madagascar does not have any cities with more than 2 million inhabitants, as over 60% of its population lives in rural areas. This country has a total area of more than 587,000 square kilometers, making it as large as Ukraine or Kenya. Its coastline stretches for at least 5,000 kilometers, a coastline similar to that of Argentina or Spain. This is why, along its coastline, you can find countless paradisiacal beaches, coral reefs, and even mangroves. The latter are not usually frequented by many tourists, since apart from the fact that international tourism is not very developed in the country, these beautiful natural spots are still quite far from the traditional tourist routes. One of its most unique places, not only in Madagascar but on the entire planet, is the Tsingy de Bemaraha, known as the Stone Forest. This national park, located in the northwest of the island, is made up of sharp limestone needles, rock labyrinths, and canyons that seem to come from a surreal world. Walking among these formations is like entering an alien landscape, so strange and spectacular that it could remind you of the floating worlds of Avatar, where every step requires caution, and every corner hides natural secrets that seem magical. These formations were created millions of years ago, when water and wind erosion carved the limestone into its characteristic shape. Its crevices and caves provide shelter for lemurs, endemic birds, and unique reptiles, many of which, as you know, are found nowhere else on the planet. As spectacular and surprising as this stone forest is, so is what is probably one of the most controversial and extreme traditions, a unique way of honoring the dead, known as Famadihana, or Dance of the Dead. This practice, unique to Madagascar and unparalleled anywhere else in the world, reflects the deep connection that Malagasy culture has with its ancestors, and the importance placed on keeping the memory of those who have passed away alive. Famadihana takes place every few years, depending on the community and family traditions, and is usually a festive and meaningful event. During this ritual, family members gather to exhume the remains of their loved ones from family graves. Once unearthed, the bodies are carefully cleaned and dressed in new clothes, in a gesture of respect and renewal. The most surprising and curious thing is that family members even dance with the deceased, spinning them around and carrying them in their arms to the rhythm of the music, as if death had not broken the bonds that unite them. The celebration continues with a joyful procession, accompanied by music and dancing, in which family members carry the bodies of their deceased through the village or community. This act symbolizes the recognition of the continued presence of ancestors in the daily life of the family and community, as well as a way of showing them that they are still remembered and loved. Famadihana is a unique and surprising example of how cultures can express mourning and veneration for the deceased in a unique and meaningful way. At this point, we would like to ask you, what do you think of the Dance of the Dead and the extreme hospitality in Madagascar? Did you know of anything similar? Pause the video and leave us your comments. Doing so is the best way to help Uncensored World work every week to bring you content as interesting as this, so thank you. Although it may seem strange from a Western perspective, for the Malagasy people, this practice represents a deep-rooted way of keeping alive the memory and legacy of those who have passed away. A practice that has a lot to do with the majority religion in Madagascar. Although there are a large number of Catholics, Protestants, and Muslims in this country, the majority of the population follows animism, which is a series of traditional beliefs stemming from the fusion of Austronesian and African religions. In animism, there are many cultural norms and prohibitions known as fady, in which many actions can bring good luck or misfortune, depending on the case and how superstitious you are. These beliefs are deeply rooted in Malagasy society and reflect the importance of spirituality and connection to the spiritual world. Madagascar is also known as the Big Red Island, because much of its territory is composed of soils rich in iron and aluminum, which stain the earth with intense and striking red colors. This unique feature causes a remarkable phenomenon during the rainy season, as the water flowing through its rivers carries these sediments with it, which are then deposited in the sea. As a result, Madagascar appears to be pouring blood into the ocean, creating a striking and distinctive image from the air or from a distance. Apart from its unmistakable color, another extraordinary fact is that before the great colonial powers set their sights on these lands, this island was a favorite refuge for many pirates, as the country is strategically located near the world's main trade routes. Captain James Misson is known to have founded a colony here known as Libertatia. Coexistence with pirates was so common in Madagascar that Île Sainte-Marie, 6 kilometers off the east coast of Madagascar, was also known simply as the Island of Pirates on maps of the time. A time when men and women surely dressed differently on the island, something that is no longer the case today, as traditional clothing in Madagascar is unique and unisex. Although it may seem strange in this country, both men and women wear the same garment, a garment known as lamba, which comes in the form of a rectangular piece of fabric that is wrapped around the body in various ways. The way it is used can result in dozens of different combinations, making it extremely versatile and adaptable to different styles and occasions. In the country, there are taboos and unwritten rules about how it should be worn depending on the occasion, age, or social status. For example, in some traditional communities, wrapping it in a certain way around the shoulders or crossing it in front of the chest may be reserved only for funerals or important ceremonies, while other ways of wearing it are considered informal or even inappropriate for certain social gatherings. Breaking these rules can be interpreted as disrespectful to tradition and to elders. In addition, the color and type of fabric can also have symbolic meanings. In some regions, certain shades are reserved exclusively for married women or members of the royal family, while other combinations are considered inappropriate for sacred occasions or specific rituals. In Madagascar, many of these beliefs are intertwined with ancestral rituals and spiritual practices. Some communities maintain that certain women can be possessed or bewitched by spirits, becoming intermediaries between the world of the living and the afterlife. During these trances, known as famba in certain ethnic groups, women perform dances and songs that are considered messages to ancestors or signs of protection and good fortune for the community. These experiences are not just performances. Locals firmly believe that women in trance can receive visions, warnings, or advice from spirits. In some traditions, it is believed that during the state of possession, these women act under the influence of supernatural forces, making decisions and moving in ways that others perceive as extraordinarily powerful. There are even those who believe that some of them possess special abilities, such as the ability to levitate, a demonstration of the strength and mystery attributed to them within the community. A power linked to mystery and the occult that was probably reflected like no other by one of its most notorious monarchs, Queen Ranavalona I, better known to her people as the Caligula of Madagascar. Ranavalona earned this nickname because during her cruel reign in 1828, she took extreme measures to consolidate her power, eliminating most of her family who could be a threat to her throne. In addition, she implemented a policy of genocide against anyone who practiced the Christian faith in her lands, resulting in the expulsion and persecution of numerous citizens. She also expelled most foreigners, confiscating their property and expelling them from the country. These actions caused a large emigration of people from the country, leading to a drastic reduction in the population of the archipelago. In just 33 years of Ranavalona, the First's rule, the population of Madagascar decreased from 5 million to half that number, marking a dark period in the country's history. These events represent a large part of Madagascar's saddest and cruelest past, and have shaped the history and identity of Madagascar over the centuries. A period that has shaped the island in the same way as the many earthquakes that occur here every year. Although Madagascar is far from any active tectonic fault, at least 500 earthquakes are recorded here every year. This is believed to occur because the Earth's crust in Madagascar is very thin, so the activity of the mantle is reflected much more intensely, making it one of the most geologically active countries in the world. This activity makes Madagascar a very mountainous country. In the central area, there are different plateaus with elevations between 500 and 1,500 meters, while the coasts are quite flat, with an average elevation of 400 meters. The average height of the island is as high as Japan or Colombia, and its highest point is Mount Maromokotro, which rises to about 2,876 meters above sea level. Apart from its mountains, traditions, wildlife, and unique biodiversity, Madagascar also has several UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Among them is the Royal Hill of Ambohimanga, a burial site over 500 years old that is of great cultural and spiritual importance to the Malagasy people. Also, noteworthy are the rainforests of Atsinanana, which are home to a unique diversity of flora and fauna, including many rare species of primates and lemurs, some of which are endemic to Madagascar and found nowhere else in the world. These are just a few examples of the many places and curiosities that Madagascar has to offer, which is why, at this point, you are probably interested in understanding how to visit and enjoy this fascinating corner of the Earth to the fullest. At Uncensored World, we have done our research and now bring you the best information so you can plan your trip to this fascinating corner of the Earth. Something that few people know is that Madagascar is also one of the cheapest countries on the planet, making it an ideal destination for travelers seeking unique adventures without spending a fortune. If you are traveling from the Americas, the most common way is to take an international flight to Antananarivo, the capital, with a stopover in European cities such as Paris or Istanbul. From Europe, there are direct flights from France with a flight time of approximately 13 hours. For citizens of many countries, including the United States and much of Europe, a visa is required which can be obtained upon arrival or online, at an approximate cost of $50 for a stay of up to 30 days. Traveling around Madagascar is quite an adventure. You can do it by plane to cover long distances between the north and south, as Madagascar is the fourth largest island on the planet, similar in size to countries such as France or Spain, or by bus and shared taxis between nearby cities. The roads are sometimes difficult, especially in rural areas, but they allow you to enjoy spectacular landscapes that would otherwise go unnoticed. In general, the country is safe for tourists, although, as with any remote destination, Caution is advised in isolated areas and at night. In terms of prices, traveling in Madagascar is surprisingly inexpensive. A mid-range hotel for 2 people can cost between $20 and $50 per night, while dinner for 2 at a local restaurant is around $10. Among the most unforgettable experiences is an excursion to Isalo National Park, which includes hiking through canyons, oases, and rock formations at an approximate cost of $30 to $40 per person, including a local guide. In addition, for those seeking unique experiences, there are excursions to visit the giant baobabs in Morondava, tour the Tsingy de Bemaraha, or even spend a night in traditional villages, always with local guides who help to respect customs and nature. All this makes Madagascar a fascinating, safe, and affordable country, ready to offer unforgettable adventures to those who dare to explore its most remote corners. At Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of the mysteries of the exotic island of Madagascar has been as exciting for you as it has been for us. With that in mind, and considering the effort that goes into making these videos, we would love for you to leave us a like and your comments, as this is the best way you can help us to continue bringing you the best content every week. If you enjoyed this video and are not yet subscribed, don't wait any longer and do so now by activating the bell, so you don't miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Videos like this one that you can enjoy now, to discover one of the most fascinating corners of the planet. Don't miss out and discover the wonders this place has to offer.